Welcome to college basketball, college hoops, coast to coast with Kevin Sweeney. I'm your host, Brian Burton. So excited to have you guys with us today in our first show, season preview. We're going to go coast to coast, work to cover every conference, and just talk a little bit about what to expect, what to look for in this kind of unpredictable season. So we'll talk a little bit about why we decided to make this show. But first, I wanted to introduce the star of the show, Kevin Sweeney.
I wouldn't say I'm the star, but I appreciate putting this together, Brian, and I'm so excited about this, all season long. And we got to know each other a little bit when you were on some staffs, and now to see you kind of grinding your way up here in media, it's exciting. So excited to get your insight on the game and put together something I think the folks will really enjoy.
Yeah, we're excited. So 15-year college basketball coach over about a 17-year span, and just kind of sometimes the good Lord shifts you into different lanes for different reasons. So excited to be able to cover some college basketball with Kevin. Kevin's just done such a great job of kind of grinding his way through the media ranks as he's still a student at Northwestern. Definitely a prestigious school for media people. So he's following in great footsteps. We're excited to be able to just really shine some more light on college basketball. There's a lot of great stories, I think particularly at the mid-major level, that just kind of get attention. So we want to do our best to, have a positive spin on things, be very real and honest, and then also just talk about things more than just basketball itself. So really excited, all access sports media, really excited to just kind of get kicked off. And yeah, so we'll kind of go through conferences alphabetical order, and then we'll just kind of break a little bit of it down, try to spend about 2 to 3 minutes on each conference, just touch on a few highlights, and then go all the way coast to coast, and then end the show with some questions from the audience. And if you have questions throughout the show, please feel free to chat those as best you can. Feel free to put those up, and we'll answer those as we can get to them. And then at the end of the show, we'll kind of wrap things up with a couple 5 or 6 kind of top questions that we should ask ourselves going into this season. So yeah, we'll kick it off with the American East Conference.
Yeah, we will. Before we do that, I just wanted to, quickly say, I think we're all thinking of Coach Anthony Stewart, who passed away yesterday, the head coach of UT Martin. I didn't know him personally. I just think I saw a lot. Every single thing I saw from people talk about how good a guy he was off the floor. So it's never good when the coaching world loses a guy like that. So we're thinking of Coach Stewart today and all the way throughout the season as we try to talk hoops, but it's hard to forget the reality sometimes.
Yeah, it was. I'm a part of a group that he was a part of. I didn't know him great personally either. I'm a part of a group called Embrace Us that Penny Collins has led, and got a chance to get some more insight to him. Saw him on the road, always a positive guy. Knew his reputation as always being a family man. His son, of course, played for him, transferred there to play for him, and my understanding of the situation is just no signs, no heads up, no anything. Just life is really precious. 2020 has been a tough year, and to lose a guy in our game that is such a great person as he was, it's definitely hard. So we wanted to take a moment of silence before we start with the American East, and just any thoughts, prayers, anything you have for the family. We'll just take about a minute or 2 of silence, and then we'll move forward. Yeah, so definitely out there, tell your loved ones you love them. I know this pandemic and all the stuff with COVID has made just for such an unpredictable year. So definitely tell your loved ones you love them. Let's make the most of each day, and definitely want to continue to honor Coach Stewart this season. Kind of shifting gears to the preview stuff. Let's go to American East first.
Yeah, one of the many mid-major leagues up in the Northeast, and quite honestly, a league that is having a little bit of trouble getting things off the ground early. I know Vermont just announced yesterday they're not going to play non-conference games. Albany's been paused a bunch in and out, but this is a fun league. I mean, obviously, I think the average college basketball fan probably knows it because of UMBC a couple years ago and what they did in the NCAA tournament. But if you remember, what they had to get through to get there was a Vermont team that is consistently one of the best mid-majors in the country. They've won 20 games or more in each of the last 12 years, 26 or more in 4 straight years. They lose their star big man, Anthony Lamb, but this is a really well-coached team. Like if you ask me, give me 10 mid-major coaches better than John Becker, I'm not sure I could do it. Like the guy is just so sharp. He does a great job on the transfer market, recruits really well, develops talent. I think they're the favorite once again. There's a bunch of teams in the middle that could challenge them. UMBC's got a good squad again. Albany, I think, has some dangerous pieces. And Hartford, John Gallagher's doing a really good job there. But I think when you look at Vermont, they have a stud point guard in Steph Smith. Once they get it going, I think they will be dangerous once again.
Yeah, you touched on what UMBC did a few years ago, beating Virginia as the first 16 seed to ever beat a 1 seed. Definitely a conference that, like a lot of mid-major conferences, doesn't get a lot of coverage, doesn't get a lot of attention. They brought a tremendous amount of attention that year, and they're always going to be at the top. Like you said, Hartford, Coach Gallagher does a good job, and Vermont's just been such a staple at the top of their league year in and year out. Excited to see what they do. How do you think that it'll affect their new kind of rules and adjustments as being one of the top teams? I know they have some new COVID protocol, which is kind of a wild card for all leagues. But what's your thoughts on Vermont real quick before we change to the American Conference?
I think it could be somewhat of a sign of things to come. I think there's a lot of mid-major, one bid league teams that are just sitting there going, all right, what are we doing this for? What are we grinding 5 games into 3 weeks for before we start our conference season? How much are we gaining from playing other mid-majors with no fans and not making a lot of money off of it? Is this right for our kids? Is this right for our program? I think it would not surprise me if a lot of teams move in Vermont's direction over the next couple of days. Unfortunately, I do think we'll have some non-conference games. But I think when you look around mid-major world, if you don't have a couple bye games that are going to make you whole during this time, if you don't have a big event that you're in, I think it's possible that some things kind of blow up and teams don't want to move forward. But it's going to make things interesting because you're going to get thrown into the fire in conference play with 2 games every week, and it's always a competitive league, so it should be fun to watch.
Yeah, and just to recap the American East, Kevin's picks for the American East: Vermont, he has 1, UMBC 2, Hartford 3, New Hampshire 4, Albany 5, UMass Lowell 6, NJIT 7, Stony Brook 8, Binghamton 9, and Maine at 10 for right now. So we'll shift gears to the American Conference. Definitely a high level of basketball played in that conference. Tell us your thoughts on the American Conference.
It's going to be fun. I think Kelvin Sampson has just done a tremendous job at Houston, where they lose a fringe NBA player in Nate Hinton. They lose a couple really good big guys, including a guy they lost for the year with an injury in Fabian White, and they're still favored in that league. I think that just says a lot about the talent level that he has built up there. They have tons of really good guards. Quentin Grimes is former 5-star. He was up and down, obviously at Kansas, but had a really nice year last year. You add to him Dejan Giroux, who is a dynamic guy with the basketball. And then I might have not even mentioned the guy who might win the Player of the Year in this league, which is Caleb Mills, who is a really high-level shot maker who can go get his own shot. This is an exciting team that is going to defend, is going to hit outside shots. They're going to be a lot of fun to watch. But the team with the most talent, I think, in this league is Memphis. Penny's doing a terrific job. I think people got on them last year as an underperformer just because of the expectations that got heaped on them. But I think people forget that James Wiseman played 3 games and then he was out. But he wasn't the only injury or only departure. They lost Lester Quinones at the start of the year, was a top 50 kid and averaged 10 points a game once he was healthy. They lost DJ Jeffries at the end of the year, who is I think a future NBA player who will be one of the best players in this conference this next year. So they had to deal with a lot of bumps, and Penny kept the ship moving in the right direction. I think he's going to do a great job there. They need some help at the point guard spot. I think Boogie Ellis maybe can take a step forward. He's a former 5-star kid from California. But, the talent is all there, and then they had some transfers as well. Landers Nolly from Virginia Tech, and so they're loaded. And then after those two, it becomes really, really interesting. You got a bunch of different, UConn leaves the league just as they're getting going, and now you have a bunch of teams in the middle that could break either way. Yeah, SMU was underperforming last year, I think, for the talent, but they could get it going again this year. Wichita State embroiled in plenty of controversy with Greg Marshall, not expected to coach this season there after the allegations of player mistreatment. Tulsa was surprisingly good last year. I don't know if they have the juice again this year. So it's going to be a fun league. I think when you're looking at it, you're trying to figure out where the NCAA tournament bids come from. I think you're locked to get 2. Can you get 3? Can you get 4? That's the test. And I think Darrelly that needs to do some damage to the non-conference and prove their worth before they hit conference play in January.
Yeah, you mentioned Houston with Kelvin Sampson. Just an incredible job he's done since he's arrived there to just turn that program into really a top 25 program every year. And I think when his teams have been their best, he's had a handful of returners back, similar to that year that they had Corey Davis in the backcourt, along with the team that made the run that lost to Michigan. That year, they had a bunch of guys back that with some good newcomers. So they're always bringing in some of the top recruiting classes, maybe not on paper as far as top 25 or top 5-star type kids, but he's always made a way with his blue-collar, grind, hard-nosed type of kids that buy into the system. And when they have returners like Caleb Mills, like you said, definitely look forward to them doing some big things and making a deep tournament run as well. Memphis, and they have a guy that is also projected to be another lottery pick that people haven't talked about a lot. The other big man that played in replacement of Wiseman, is it Precious? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Precious Chua. He's gonna hit the NBA waters. He's a talented kid, can switch, and I honestly think Wiseman leaving was a blessing in disguise for him because it meant they could play him as a small ball 5. And it's gonna be interesting this year because they can go smaller if they get a waiver for DeAndre Williams from Evansville, who kind of led the way to that win over Kentucky early last season, or they can go bigger. They have a 5-star kid coming in, and Moussa Cisse, who can really protect the rim. But yeah, Chu was a huge loss. He was he was really good last year. I think better than a lot of people expected on the offensive end. Absolutely.
So yeah, we know Memphis is going to be really talented. Like you said, Tulsa was a surprise last year to be at the top of the league. I think you have them kind of middle of the pack now. SMU has a lot of really good pieces back. They had Kendrick Davis leads the show with them. Definitely a talented returning core. Look for them to do some big things. I know you have them picked 3rd. So just kind of overviewing the American Conference picks for Kevin. He has Houston 1st, Memphis 2nd, SMU 3rd, Cincinnati 4th, Wichita State 5th, UCF 6th, Tulsa 7th, USF 8th, East Carolina 9th, Temple 10th, and Tulane 11th. So we'll shift to the ACC. Go down the ACC country and talk a little bit about one of our favorite leagues. So yeah, go ahead and get straight to it.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch Duke and Virginia duke it out at the top, just kind of as they have the last couple of seasons. And I think both of those teams have national title aspirations, and for good reason. Duke doesn't have the maybe that one superstar. They don't have a Zion. They don't have even a Trey Jones this season. But they do have just a loaded overall class of newcomers. I think Jalen Johnson is 6'9", really point forward. He does a lot of the same things Ben Simmons does, where he's a terror in transition. He can handle the ball. He can really pass. I think he's going to open up a lot for them offensively. And they do some returners too. I think it kind of gets forgotten about when you have one of these 5-stars who doesn't live up quite to the hype. But, Matt Hurt was a guy who was a 5-star and averaged 9 points a game as a freshman. He's back. Wendell Moore, 6, 7, 8 points a game as a freshman, was solid in the rotation. He's back. those guys could turn into superstars, and all of a sudden you're looking at one of the best teams in the country. Virginia's obviously going to defend. They had Sam Hauser from Marquette, the transfer forward. He's going to help them immensely on offense because of his ability to shoot the ball. And that team will be special again. I think the interesting thing with this league is just how good is the depth throughout the conference. I think last year, when you looked down into the middle and the bottom, it was much weaker than it's been in years past. So, what are you going to get this year from Syracuse? What are you going to get from Miami? About Georgia Tech, who was a bit of a surprise last season. I think that's going to go a long way in determining what this league looks like. I'm a big Syracuse fan. I think they're going to be an interesting group. They have really good guards. They added Alan Griffin from Illinois, who I think will help them on the wing to replace Elijah Hughes. This is an interesting Syracuse club, and again, this middle is beatable. So I think Cuse definitely has some upward mobility here in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, who would you say if you had to say in that league? Obviously ACC and really every league in the country, there's always kind of a surprise team that maybe some people, if some things can go a certain way and stars can align just right, they can get hot and make a run. Who would you say are a couple teams to kind of watch that maybe you didn't have picking your top, couple three projections?
Yeah, I think Syracuse and Louisville are two that come to mind. Louisville's been hurt a little bit by injuries here in the early season. They lost Malik Williams, who's arguably their best player, probably until January. And then Charles Minland, a grad transfer from San Francisco. To lose both those guys hurts. But I still think, Chris Mack is one of the better coaches in the country, and they have a grad transfer guard in Carlick Jones from Radford. Like, that dude could play anywhere in the country. He averaged 25 and 5 last season. I think him and David Johnson, the kind of big point guard who can handle the ball and really attack, will make a really good backcourt duo. A little more concerned with the front court now that Malik Williams is on the shelf. But there's plenty of talent here to make a push. And they do get the luxury of playing most of their non-conference schedule on their home floor because they're playing they're hosting their own little bubble thing. So that'll, I think, help them as well.
Yeah, we have the projections from Kevin in the ACC. Our Virginia is 1, Duke at 2, North Carolina at 3, Florida State at 4, Louisville at 5, Syracuse 6, Miami 7, Clemson 8, Virginia Tech 9, Georgia Tech 10, NC State 11, Notre Dame 12, Pitt 13, and Boston College 14. It seems completely unfair that one of the best leagues in the country has 14 teams in it. It just doesn't even seem right. But we'll move to the Atlantic 10. Tell us some of your thoughts on the Atlantic 10, Kev.
Yeah, if any league needs the non-conference, it's the A10 because they got a couple teams that I think can jockey their way towards an at-large bid. I think Richmond and St. Louis in particular are really, really dangerous. Richmond is a team I don't know if I would want any better situation than to be at a place like Richmond right now because they had 5 senior starters. They lost one of them in Nick Sherrod to a ACL, but they are very experienced. They have a terrific point guard in Evan Gilliard who runs a team. Blake Francis can score. Grant Golden is a really good big man who can pass out of the post in the Princeton looks that they run. So that's a really good team. St. Louis is a grind you out team with tons of size and athleticism up front. But I think the depth in this conference is what's exciting. You go down, Dayton, who was a terrific team last year. They'll be competitive. St. Bonaventure has, 2 really good players in Kyle Lofton and Oshuni, who's a big rim protector. And then you even go down further. UMass has, I think, the best player in the conference, potentially, in Trey Mitchell, who is a terrific post player. And they added a terrific transfer point guard, Noah Fernandez from Wichita State. I think they'll be better. I think GW's on the right track with Jamie and Christian. So I think really 1 through 9, 1 through 10, this league is going to be really competitive top to bottom. That's exciting to watch.
Yeah, another league with 14 teams and always high-level basketball played in this conference. One of the better mid-major conferences in the country. I don't think that's ever up for debate. And, there's heavy hitters at the top. But, again, one of those leagues that you just kind of never know who can get hot and who can make a run and who can kind of get some steam. Talk about who may be a surprise. You mentioned UMass and them having one of the better players in the league. So, obviously, when you have a guy like that, you can always get going. Anybody else in the league that kind of sticks out that maybe it'll make a run? Obviously, Davidson back in the day made a Sweet 16. run and then some with Steph Curry. Is there anybody else that comes to mind?
I think St. Bonaventure is a team that gets a little forgotten about after that top three because there's going to be buzz about Richmond and St. Louis, and there's going to be buzz about Dayton just because of what they did last season. But Bonaventure, for my money, has the coach who does the best with less in the country, and Mark Schmidt, and he has the talent. I think talent that is close to the level of the team that they got an at-large bid with a couple years ago. They have a great point guard, as I mentioned, great big man, and they beefed up their wing depth in the offseason. They added Anthony Roberts, who can really score it, transferred from Kent State. They have a guy in Justin Winston, I think a breakout guy, plays the 4. They're athletic 1 through 5. They can shoot the ball 1 through 5, except 1 through 4 really is shooting. You can't stretch it, but they're a tough guard on offense, and they're extremely well coached on defense.
Yeah, so kind of going back over the Atlantic 10 projections, Kevin has Richmond at 1, St. Louis at 2, Dayton at 3, St. Bonaventure at 4, Rhode Island at 5, VCU 6, UMass at 7, George Washington at 9, Davidson at 10, George Mason at 11, St. Joe's at 12, LaSalle at 13, and Fordham at 14. We'll stop for a quick second. We got a question. Here's your question from CBMS 420. Does Memphis challenge them with D. Williams?
Yeah, I think he's referring. Yeah, can Memphis win the league against Houston if Williams gets the waiver? I think it's possible, right? Like, I want to buy Houston's experience. I think when you have a coach as good as Kelvin Sampson, that's a team that I'll just trust generally. But Memphis has top 15 level talent if especially with the waiver for Williams, because he gives them versatility at the 4 and the 5. He's so skilled. He can shoot the ball. He can handle it. That's a scary, talented team if they can get that waiver in. They would have probably 3 future NBA players, a couple other guys who'll play in the G League. Just a really good top to bottom roster.
Yeah, we appreciate that question, CB. We'll change to the Atlantic Sun as we keep going coast to coast. Liberty is usually the team in this conference that has really, really excelled. Richie McKay has done a tremendous job with that program as well. Just at one point in time last year, undefeated for a long stretch. And again, many teams we can talk about that you hate to see what we never got a chance to see what they could have done in March, given all the stuff that happened with COVID and the cancellation of the tournament, which we all hated. But knew it was the right move to make. But Liberty is usually the top of that league. You picked them top again. Also behind them is Lipscomb and Stetson. So talk a little bit about the Atlantic Sun.
Yeah, Liberty loses a lot, so I think it's open. The door's open, but I just trust McKay and the defense. I mean, they run that Tony Bennett style pack line, and that's just tough to deal with. I think he's the best coach in the league. They're recruiting at a higher level than the rest of the league. Honestly, they're kind of outsized for the league resource-wise. I mean, they're there as a basketball home. Their football team's independent. They're trying to find maybe a group of 5 league like the Conference USA to get into, maybe even the American. But they have a great new facility. It's a top-tier program. Lipscomb, I think, is the team after them that you watch. They have a really good big man in Hassan Asadullah, and Lenny Acuff did a great job last year in his first year of finding different ways to get on the ball. They'll get it to him at the elbows, and he can distribute out of that. He's a really talented guy, and I think the last 10 games of the season, I had this stat in one of my previews. He averaged 23 and 10 in his final 10 games. Like that guy's one of the better big men in mid-major basketball, and he'll be a tough guard. So if anyone's beating Liberty, I think it's Lipscomb.
Yeah, you have Stetson at 3, North Florida at 4, Florida Gulf Coast at 5, North Alabama at 6. Bellarmine at 7, Jacksonville 8, and Kennesaw 9. Any sleeper team or maybe a team with either returning talent or incoming talent that maybe could rock the boat in the Atlantic Sun?
I picked Stetson 3. I think that may be a little higher than some people have it. It's because they have a really nice duo. When you look at what Donnie Jones did last year, they brought in two stud freshmen, Rob Perry and Mohamedou Diawara, and that really changed the game for them. That gives them a core to build around. I think in a year where there's a lot of teams without experience in that conference, they might be special in that regard.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Let's go Big East. Go East Coast a little bit. And again, another one of some people would consider it to be that other league that should be getting respect as a high major basketball league. We all know that. Big East, huge tradition in basketball. You have Villanova picked first, which is no surprise, being who they are, and Jay Wright, what he's continued to do there. But just a super high level league. I mean, there's always a chance that you can get 4, 5, 6 teams in the NCAA tournament. So talk about the Big East and kind of what you see there.
Yeah, Villanova, Creighton, I think, are caught above the rest. Both teams are so hard to guard offensively because of the spacing that they have. And I'm excited to see those teams in the potentially compete for national titles. But I think what makes this league interesting is the middle. I mentioned UConn leaving the American just as they're getting going. This is a talented UConn team that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think one of the more intriguing teams in the country. Yep. James Bouknight back as a sophomore. This guy is going to be an NBA player. He's 6'5". He's super athletic. He can shoot the ball. But they added a ton around him. They added, a transfer from Howard and RJ Cole, who averaged 23 and 6 at Howard at point guard. They added Tyrese Martin from URI, who actually committed to Danny Hurley at Rhode Island, winds up playing a couple years for David Cox, and now heads back to play for Coach Hurley. He'll be an impact guy in the wing. They've got a bunch of guys they can rotate through in the front court. The talent, the facelift and talent that Danny Hurley has given this program in a relatively short period of time cannot be understated. And then you have some interesting things in the middle, like Seton Hall and Providence, two really good programs, two really good coaches. Both lose a couple of key pieces. Providence lose Alpha Diallo, Seton Hall lose Miles Powell. But they did a nice job adding. Providence gets a new point guard, and Jared Bynum from St. Joe's, who I think will help. And Seton Hall hit the grad transfer market to get a point guard, and Bryce Aiken, who will help them immensely scoring the ball. And they also have a terrific big man in Sandru Mamukelashvili. So the talent level is high throughout the middle of this conference, and they should be in position for plenty of at-large bids in the middle here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Tell me who you think, if you had to say, is kind of the sleeper teams in this league, kind of the ones to watch that maybe aren't at the top. You have Villanova, Creighton, and UConn at the top three. UConn making the splash, coming back to the league from the American. Talk a little bit about kind of that middle of the pack, the Seton Hall, Providence, Xavier.
See, I like the one you didn't mention. I think Marquette is an interesting club because, they do lose Marcus Howard, who is arguably the best scorer in the country.
Yep.
But they get a pretty darn good replacement for him in DJ Carton, former 5-star recruit, went to Ohio State for a year, left after he was dealing with some mental health problems. There's no better place for him system-wise than the free-flowing offense that Steve Wojciechowski is going to put him in. So Marquette is dangerous with Carton running the show.
Yeah, and then we have after that we have Villanova 1, as Kevin has in his projections, Creighton 2, UConn 3, Seton Hall 4, Providence 5, Marquette 6, Xavier 7, St. John's 8, DePaul 9, and Butler 10. And as we know in that league, it's kind of wide open and always competitive. You can have a multi-bid league, as you just mentioned. So we'll take a quick comment. Let's see what we got. We'll go back a little bit on our participation. Looks like we got Ryan Slott saying that Stetson will rock the boat. I like it.
Very possible. Yeah. They got some good young players.
Very good squad they have out there. And then CBMS is back, making his Listcom shout out.
Sir.
And then our guy, our Canadian friend, Coach Fernandez, making a push for Georgetown and Patrick Ewing. Love it. Love it. So we're going to shift now. We'll go Big Sky, kind of get into this mountain region of the country. You have Montana at the top, Travis DeClure. I mean, again, another coach who doesn't get enough credit for how great of a job he's done with that program, being just such a place that most people wouldn't expect Montana to be associated with basketball, probably similar to Vermont, but he's just done an incredible job there in that conference and at Montana. So you have him picked first, Eastern Washington second, and Northern Colorado, despite Coach Linder going to Wyoming. Coach Steve Smiley, you have him third. So talk a little bit about the Big Sky.
Yeah, those three teams at the top, I think there's a lot of parity. You could make an argument either way. I think Montana gets two important transfers in the backcourt. Cameron Parker from Sacred Heart, who's a high assist point guard, and then Cameron Satterwhite, who played originally at Loyola Chicago. He was the 9th man on that Final Four team, and then transferred out, went to Northern Arizona, spent 2 years there, and then will finish his career up at Montana. He's a solid player on the wing, will help them. And they get a transfer in the front court, Michael Stedman from San Jose State, who will be a double-double guy. That's why I like them. One team I think is a sleeper here, and it's weird to call them a sleeper because they're one of the better programs in this conference year in, year out, is Weber State. They had a down year last year. Rennie Ray really cleaned house, brought in a ton of transfers, ton of new guys. They grabbed point guard Isaiah Brown, who started his career at Northwestern, went to Grand Canyon, wraps it up. If they get a waiver for Darweshi Hunter, he's a D2 transfer, 6'5", athletic wing. I think is close to a high major caliber player. This is a very interesting team. But even without him, they had Dante Bassett, who played at Florida, was kind of in and out of the rotation at 6'9". He'll be an impact big man in this conference. Tavian Percy was a rotation guy at New Mexico, athletic, plays really hard on the wing. So I think they'll be a lot better. And Coach Ray can coach them up with the best of them. So they'll be dangerous after one of the worst years in Ray's tenure.
Yeah, home of Damian Lillard. I think when I was back at Utah, we coached against Damian Lillard that year. I think he hit us with maybe 38, something like that. But Coach Ray's done a great job there. And normally a team that for a stretch had a great run at the top of the league. They've kind of been toward the middle, and I think last year you said they struggled. But talk a little bit. We got a comment from our JUCO advocate, our friends over at JUCO Advocate. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Montana State will challenge for top 3 this year. Bello could be one of the best bigs in the league. So we'll give some shout out to JUCO Advocate. Tell us a little bit about what you think about that comment. Obviously, Danny Sprinkle in his year 2, I believe, they're doing a great job and looking forward to seeing what he's going to do. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good take by BG. Bello is a special big man. I think one of the better bigs in the conference, one of the better bigs in the region. Really, he can protect the rim. He gets to the line with regularity. I think he's gonna be a nice player. And then they had Xavier Bishop, the transfer from Kansas City, really undersized, diminutive, kind of jitterbug point guard, but he was really productive in the WAC, and I think is a guy that will help this team immensely and fit what Danny Sprinkle wants to do. So they're definitely a team that has sleeper potential in the middle of the league.
And we got one more shout out from our guy, former JUCO head coach at Sheridan College, now head coach at UNC Northern Colorado, signing a top 10 player in Dalton. Not sure exactly how you say his last name, Kinich, out of Northeastern. Appreciate the shout out, Brandon. So we'll move to the next league. We'll go Big South. Winthrop, you have picked at the top. UNC Asheville second. Charleston Southern third, and then followed by Gardner Webb fourth. Tell us a little bit about the Big South.
Yeah, Winthrop is a mid-major that I think will no longer be under the radar come mid-season. I think they're going to go really run through this conference. They're really dangerous. One of the things that Pat Kelsey has done is he's hit the D2 transfer market really hard. I think it's an emerging spot that a lot of mid-majors can use, and he's done it in the past. But he goes this year and adds a kid, an Adonis Arm, 6'6" wing, who I think will be an impactful guy. I think will be a high-level scorer in this league to augment another D2 transfer, actually, in Chandler Vaudrin, who's a 6'7", kind of big point guard who can really pass and push in transition, grab and go off the boards. And then they have a terrific big man, DJ Burns, transfer from Tennessee. Really kind of a low-minute guy who you just plug in there and he gives you 4 or 5 minutes of huge energy, and you can just feed him in the post all day long. He's an impact guy up front. So this is a deep, athletic, talented team that runs really good offense that I think will be a dangerous team come March.
Yeah, any sleeper teams in this league? You have middle of the pack. You have Radford at 5, USC Upstate at 6, Longwood at 7, Campbell at 8, High Point 9, Hampton 10, and Presbyterian 11. Anyone that kind of sticks out in that middle that maybe it'll jump into that next tier?
Maybe USC Upstate. I think they're weird X factor in that they add Kevon Moore. He was a former 5-star at one point in his recruitment, fell a little bit, went to Texas Tech, didn't work out, went to Clemson, didn't work out. Honestly, there's not a lot of information whether he's eligible this year. He might have to sit, but if he's eligible, he's ready to go. that's not a big South level talent. That's a high major talent, and he could be a game changer. They bring a bunch back too. They have a good guard in Everett Hammond. So if they can get a guy like Moore in there, they'll be very interesting.
Good. Let's move to the Big Ten. The Big Ten. We know they started a little slow in football, and so those that don't know, Kevin's a Northwestern student, Wildcat. So my brother went to Northwestern. Shout out to Jason Burke, my high school teammate and brother. Our parents got married after we graduated from high school, so he's now my brother. He's stuck with me, so I know all about Northwestern. But talk about Big Ten. Michigan State, you have picked first. Wisconsin second. Illinois third. What do you think about the Big Ten? This may take a little while for us, those that are watching, to cover the Big Ten, because this is his favorite.
I think it's the best league in America this year. I don't even know if it's close. I think really 1 through 8, 1 through 9. This is so deep. Michigan State, Wisconsin, Illinois, and even Iowa, I think, have national championship level aspirations. Now, Iowa is the most polarizing team in the country if you ask people about them, because some people say, well, look at his offense. You have Luka Garza, who's going to be the National Player of the Year in the preseason. You have Joe Wieskamp, terrific wing. You have all these shooters like C.J. Frederick and Jordan Bohannon. You're experienced. You're running it back. This is national title type team. And then you have other people who say, well, they were barely a top 100 defense last year. Like, that doesn't work to be a national title team. You need to be you need to be able to defend, and you need to be able to get stops in close games. I'm not sure they're going to be better on that end just because of how the team is made up. It's, quite frankly, it's a not overly athletic team. It's a bunch of guys who really know how to shoot, really know how to play the game. But when you're facing athletes like Illinois has, like Michigan State has, it's challenging. So Iowa's the most polarizing team in the country. I'm buying them as more of like a top 20 team than a national title team. I still think Michigan State should be the favorite, quite frankly, with Rocket Watts and Aaron Henry. They're special. But I think the depth of this league is, again, where you're going to see it, because Minnesota is 10th in my preseason projections. They have top 25 talent in the country. Will they get there? I don't know. But they have top 25 talent. Ohio State, top 25 caliber talent. Michigan, a 5-star big man, Hunter Dickinson. Run it back with Franz Wagner and Isaiah Livers. So talented. Rutgers runs it back, was a top 25 team last year. Like, you just go up and down. Like, there are not going to be a lot of easy nights. If I'm the head coach of Maryland, the head coach of Nebraska, the head coach of Northwestern, I'm not getting many good nights sleep this year, because I think I've got a decent team, and I'm sitting there going, okay, we got Rutgers next week. That's a tough game. All right, next week we go to Illinois. Like, there's no breaks, and it's going to be really, really tough for everyone in this league. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch for us Hoops fans.
Yeah, you have Illinois third, Iowa fourth. Obviously, Luka Garza you talked about, and he's going to be a must-watch all year long. He's an incredible talent, and he should be every bit of preseason player of the year in the country for his talent and ability. Rutgers is definitely a team you're not used to seeing and hearing about at the top. We'll talk a little bit more about them. Indiana, you have 6, Purdue 7, Juwan Howard, Michigan team, you have 8, Ohio State 9, Minnesota 10, and Maryland 11. We'll say this real quick. We'll give Brandon Goebel his shout out again one time. He said the Big 12 would like a word with you. Talk in reference to the best conference. But tell us a little bit more about why you think the Big 10 is the best conference in college basketball, and you don't think it's close. And also tell us a little bit more about who else in that pack, maybe 5 and below. So Rutgers is 5, Indiana 6, Purdue 7, 5 and below, who may be able to make a jump.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the best conference just because of the depth. I think the Big 12 is known for not having easy nights, and it's so tough to win on the road in that conference. But I think when you have the caliber of teams at the top, the national title caliber talent at the top, combined with the terrific depth, I think when you compare 7, 8, 9, Purdue, Michigan State, Ohio State with 7, 8, 9 in the Big 12, which would be Iowa State, TCU, Oklahoma, give me the Purdue, Michigan, Ohio State type teams. So I think that's where it stands out. And then sleeper squad, I think Rutgers, it's gonna be interesting. They're not gonna have fans at their games, which is a challenge for them. They loved being at the rack, and that was an important advantage for them last year. So we'll see. Interesting to see. Very interesting to see how they can navigate that. But this is a talented team, and Steve Peichel does a terrific job on defense.
Yeah. Any projections, if you had to say, kind of in that bottom tier that you have in the Big Ten, which there's really no bottom tier. It's hard to say that with a conference like this, but anyone that maybe if they have somebody kind of get hot or some things kind of go right with maybe a transfer or incoming signee that can kind of break into that top half. So you have kind of Michigan 8, Ohio State 9, Minnesota 10, and Maryland 11.
I alluded to Minnesota. I think Minnesota is a team. They just got 2 waivers for Liam Robbins, a big guy from Drake, 7-footer, and Booth Gatch from Utah, who's a combo guard. They have all the pieces they need. They have a sub point guard, Marcus Carr. I think it's just meshing them all together. And if Robbins continues his development arc, this guy had no offers, commits to Drake, and they did a terrific job developing him over the last couple of years and made him a high major player. And now Minnesota gets to reap the rewards, which is very reminiscent of many other mid-major to high major moves in the past, which is frustrating as a guy who loves mid-major basketball like myself. But hey, good for Minnesota. It's a big time at. He's a special kid.
Yeah, we got a good comment here. We'll give Julius Allen showing some love, saying good job, guys. We appreciate the support, Julius. Hope you'll continue to tune in. We'll take a quick next transition to the Big West Conference, going West Coast from the Big Ten. So UC Santa Barbara you have at the top, UC Irvine next, and then UC Riverside. It's the year of the UC schools, it looks like, as your picks. Hawaii is 4, Long Beach State as projected at 5, UC Davis projected at 6, Cal State Bakersfield, who's new to the league, coming from the WAC. Coach Barnes does a great job there and has won the WAC, done a great job when he was there. So they're at 7. UC San Diego, new to Division I, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's correct.
Number 8, Cal State Fullerton, you have pick 9, Northridge 10, and Cal Poly 11. Let's talk about the Big West.
Yeah, I won't spend a ton of time here because we just ate a bunch on the Big Ten, but this is going to be a weird league this year because I think these California schools dealt with the most state restrictions, really of anyone except New Mexico, over the summer. I know there was teams that had to practice outside. Long Beach State was running outdoor practice all summer. You had teams that can only work on groups of 5. Like it was messy. So I think the early season play could be bumpy, but really the 3 at the top, Santa Barbara, Irvine, and Riverside are well positioned. I'm rooting for Riverside to make it happen. They have a first-year coach in Mike Magpayo, first coach of Asian descent, Division I level. They're at a place where they're considering cutting sports altogether at UC Riverside. He's fighting. He's one of the guys fighting to keep him around, and no better statement would it be if they could win the league. But talent at the top is great. UC Irvine has a great player in Colin Welp. Santa Barbara recruits a really high level with Joe Pasternak at the helm, so it should be a fun league.
Yes, definitely, and congrats to Coach Mpayo with UC Riverside, and to Coach Patrick in his move to make the move back up the ladder. We'll talk about his squad here soon. So let's go to the Big 12. I know Brandon, our good friend Brandon Goebel, had some controversy about this being one of the top leagues. Baylor, another one of those teams you just hated for all those that know the staff at Baylor and know Coach Drew and Coach Brooks, Coach Tang, and their staff. You just hate that they didn't get a chance to play in March because they had a pretty special team, a very special team last year. And, looking forward to see what they do. They have fortunate to have a lot of those guys back, so look forward to what they're going to do. You have them 1, Kansas 2, West Virginia 3, and Texas Tech 4. So let's talk about the Big 12.
Yeah, Baylor, loses their big man, who I think was part of the secret to their success. Freddie Gillespie, because he could switch, he could defend in the post, he could protect the rim. Was a really impactful player, but they'll still be an elite team. Their guards are special, and they had another really good guard in Adam Flagler, who began his career Presbyterian playing for Dustin Kearns. Can really shoot the ball. I think will be very reminiscent to what they got from Maceo Teague last year, who will be back this year as well. So the guards are special. Kansas is Kansas. They're going to be really good. David McCormick's going to take a big step forward in the front court to replace Udoka Azubuike. But then the 3-4 teams in the middle are what really makes it interesting. West Virginia has top 10 potential. I would not want to face their front court. Oscar Shebwe and Derek Culver are physical dudes. Oscar Shebwe is basically like carved out of stone. That guy is gigantic. And then Texas Tech, really well coached. Talent levels high. They get Mac McClungan from Georgetown. They're gonna defend you for 40 minutes, and that's gonna be tough. And then two 5-star recruits coming at 5 and 6. Texas with Greg Brown, who runs back then. Oklahoma State has who I believe will be the best player in the country, bar none, and Cade Cunningham. That kid's a high impact college basketball player because at 6'6", 6'7", he can handle the ball, he can shoot the ball, he can play point guard, he can slash on the wing. He's a smart team defender. So they're gonna be a fun team. They're not eligible for the postseason. They're trying to get that overturned. I hope it is because everyone wants to see Cade Cunningham in March Madness. But top to bottom, a fun league with I think 4 teams that have top 10 potential if they get there, and then a couple more that have plenty of upside as well.
Yeah, you have Texas rounding in at 5, Oklahoma State at 6, Oklahoma at 7, Iowa State 8, TCU 9, and Kansas State 10. Yeah, definitely Cade Cunningham and Oklahoma State. What a grab by Mike Boynton. Great job. Really biased towards Isaac Likely. Of course, when I was at Fresno State, we were fortunate to sign him before Coach Terry made the move, and we made the move to UTEP. And then he kind of was able to get to Oklahoma State. But, no, they have a great squad. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're able to do. Talk about this middle of the pack Big 12 that you have picked, 5, 6. We talked about Oklahoma State. So let's talk Texas, Oklahoma, Iowa State a little bit, TCU, Kansas State.
Yeah, I think Texas is a weird club because mid-February they're sitting there. I think they're 13-12. They're really struggling. Really not sure where they're going with this. There's buzz. Maybe Shaka Smart is going to be on the hot seat. It was 14-11. They were 4-8 in the league. Then they rattle off 5 wins in a row to get them right back on the bubble. And quite frankly, they're going to run it back from that club. Everybody's back. Andrew Jones, Matt Coleman, Courtney Ramey in the backcourt. Jericho Sims up front, and they can just plug and play at the 4 with Greg Brown, who I think is going to be one of the better freshmen in the country. He's so athletic, plays so hard. I think will fit in with what Shaka wants to do. Is it going to be enough? I don't know. They've underwhelmed the last couple seasons with the talent level that they have consistently. But this is a top 25 caliber team if they can put it all together. They just need. I think they need better point guard play from Matt Coleman. I think at times he's been up, times he's been down. I think he just needs to be a little bit more aggressive, make better reads in the ball screen. And if he does that, this will be a very good Texas team.
Awesome. Yes, definitely looking forward to seeing what happens in the Big 12. Best of luck to all the teams. Again, one of the most competitive teams in the country, hands down. And so many good coaches, so many high-level players. Just hard to really night in, night out, figure out how to get a win, whether you're home or road. So we will switch to the CAA. You have Hofstra picked first in the CAA, followed by College of Charleston with Earl Grant, and then Towson at 3. Tell us a little bit about this league.
Yeah, I mean, we'll keep it quick. But Hofstra, I think, they were going to the tournament for the first time in 20 years. They win their conference tournament on Tuesday. The world shuts down on Thursday. It's a pretty tough break, but they're talented once again. They're going to get a big step forward, I think, from Jalen Ray in the backcourt. Joe Mihalik's teams really love to have guards who can go create, and he does that. And they also have a good big man, Isaac Conte, who's terrific around the rim. I think the true sleeper team here is Towson with Pat Scarry at the helm. They win 19 games last year, and they do lose some guys, Brian Fobbs and Alan Bertrand in the backcourt, but they actually get back a guy who left them at one point. So in 2018, their leading scorer was Zane Martin, who averaged almost 20 points a game in that league. He says, all right, I'm looking for greener pastures. He transfers out. He heads to New Mexico, sits out a year in New Mexico, plays a year, averages 10 a game out in the Mountain West. He hits the grad transfer market late this summer. Says, where can I go? All right, I'm coming home. Goes back to Towson, and he is going to be one of the best shot creators in the conference. Might be the best player in the league. So that's a huge add for a team that had some young talent as well. So they'll be an interesting club without a doubt.
Yeah, talking about the rest of the league, you have Northeastern pick 4th, Elon 5th, Delaware 6th, James Madison 7th, Drexel 8th, UNC Wilmington 9, and William and Mary at 10. Let's switch to let's go back to the Conference USA. But before we go to Conference USA, we'll give a quick shout out and comment, show some of the comments from our viewers. Great job, fellas. I'm tuned in before my first class. Love and appreciate your work. Thanks, Coach Robinson. Definitely appreciate you tuning in and showing some love. And, yeah, Brandon Goebel's on it again. Shout out to Coach Mikey over at UC Riverside, first Division I coach of Asian descent, one of the best people in the business. Definitely love to see anybody, again, as we're working to have even more equality in our game and more diversity in our coaches. Love to see Coach kind of breaking some records here on that. And then Julius Allen's back again saying, show some love to the MEAC. We're going to get there, my man. We're getting there. We're almost there. So thanks so much for tuning in. Keep the comments coming. We appreciate the support. So yeah, let's go to Conference USA. Talk a little bit about that league. We'll let you kind of jump into it. You have Western Kentucky picked first. Bassie was obviously out last year, and so now he's back, I believe, and going to be healthy. North Texas won the league last year, has a lot of guys back. Player of the year, and Hamlet is back. You have them at 2. UAB with their new coach. We're all familiar with. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about this league.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Western Kentucky, I think, is the favorite. Just, they're so athletic and talented. Bassie is an impact guy in the middle, but then I think the key to their success is Kenny Cooper. Lipscomb transfer, sat out last year. Just a steady point guard that they need to just kind of steady the ship. I think North Texas, though, a lot of fun. I know you're very familiar with their staff. And they have a ton of talent with Jamevion Hamlet in the backcourt. James Reese can really shoot it. They had Marjarez McBride from JUCO. I think is going to help them a lot. Can really shoot the ball. So they're interesting at the top. And then the depth of this conference is another thing that makes it interesting. UTSA at 7 with Javon Jackson and Keaton Wallace. I would not want to have to prep for them. Charlotte, great defense with Ron Sanchez and a terrific backcourt duo in Jameer Young and Jordan Shepard. UTEP is a great big man in Bryson Williams. Marshall, a terrific wing, and Tavian Kinsey. Really, 1 through 7, 1 through 8, 1 through 9. This is a talented league. And even Middle Tennessee State, when you look down towards the bottom, they have 5 really good transfers. Dontrell Schuler from Charleston Southern, Jared Jones from Northwestern, DeAndre Dishman, finally healthy from Eastern Kentucky, among other guys. So this is a talented league, and it's going to be a grinder night in and night out.
Yeah, really high level mid-major league. Got to see it firsthand during my time at UTEP. They will definitely be good. With Bryson Williams, as good of a big man, first team all conference. As hard of a worker as you can get. He's as good as it gets. Sule Boom back as well. They picked up a transfer from Oklahoma at the point guard spot to be able to kind of shore up those duties. So will be interesting to see what they're able to do. Definitely have the talent. But this league is really talented top to bottom. This league is hard travel, as it says, Conference USA. So the travel is hard. Like you said, UTSA, I mean, they've picked up some talented guys to go with the highest scoring backcourt in the country. Coach Henson does a great job with his staff. Louisiana Tech, Coach Conco's done a great job there as well. There's just so many teams you can go into. But I like the Charlotte pick at 4. Coach Sanchez has really done a great job in how they play and what they're doing there. The UAB pick at 3, some may think is controversial, but I love the fact that Andy Kennedy's there. He's back, and the coach before him did a great job as well. Hate to see guys have to transition out of jobs, but UAB is definitely a place that has some good basketball. And then just kind of going, Old Dominion's always been a good team. They won the league a couple years ago. Middle Tennessee State, as you mentioned, and let's not sleep on the Florida schools. I think Florida International, Florida Atlantic have both just done such a great job making those programs super respectable. They've always finished toward the middle and top half of the league, won 20 games. So looking forward to seeing kind of what happens in this league. Tell us a little bit more. If there's anybody kind of that middle of the pack outside of UTSA, who else do you see? You have UTEP 5th, Marshall 6th, UTSA 7th, La Tech 8th, Old Dominion picked at 9, Middle Tennessee State at 10, Florida International 11, Florida Atlantic 12, Southern Miss 13, and Rice 14. Another one of those leagues with 14 teams just makes it tough.
Here, I'll actually turn it on you because you were in the league. Who is the team and the coach who is toughest to prepare for when you're building this down?
Yeah, good question. I just think there's such a variety of styles in this league, different than maybe even other leagues that I've worked in or even teams that you see, leagues that you watch on television. I think there's such a variety, kind of one of those tricky preps against Florida International and how they play. as far as kind of still doing a version of Havoc. Coach Ballard was with Shaka, so just kind of playing a fast pressing style. I think Florida Atlantic, Dusty May's done just such a great job of kind of changing things up, adding some zone looks, kind of giving you a different feel. The league's a little bit different than when I was in the league as far as some of the coaches. Marshall was really good at the time, and they played really fast. And same with UTSA, they just play such a fast pace. It's a scoring match. And when you go in those games, you know if you're in the 90s by the end of the game and it's 4-minute timeout, the last media, there's a good chance you could have that playing against UTSA and Marshall. Charlotte, definitely kind of more of a grind style, kind of taking that Virginia, Liberty kind of way of playing the pack line and making the half-court execution. I'm curious to see how Andy Kenney's going to play at UAB. And then Western Kentucky, they just done such a good job with their talent and their ability to acquire talent. And then I think North Texas, I mean, I'm biased towards those guys. I work for Coach McCaslin. Shout out to those guys, Ross Hodge, Jareem Dowling, Matty B. I just think they've done such a great job last year of kind of changing their offense and their defense. Defensively, they went to a style similar to Texas Tech, kind of siding, keeping people on the side and kind of trying to keep things out of the middle. And they had a lot of success with it, looking at the metrics. And then offensively, just playing a style where they're almost less scripted and playing with more playmakers. And obviously, Tavion Hamlet, the best player in the league last year or player of the year, and he's back. And I know those guys being picked second by you and others, that gives them a chip because they really have everybody back from that team for the most part. Lost Emoji Gibson, which was a loss, but I think they've definitely acquired as good of a class as they've had since they've been there. So, and really I didn't mention Rice, and Old Dominion, but those also and La Tech. I mean, there's so many different variations and styles in this league. So looking forward to seeing what happens in Conference USA this year. Their travel, they won't be able to do like some people as far as staying and kind of creating that bubble and playing 2 games in a row. So I hope the travel and everything that the demands of that league doesn't wear and tear on some of this COVID stuff.
You ain't bussing from Old Dominion to UTEP. I don't think so.
Not a lot of busing going on in this league. I think 14 teams in 10 different states. So shout out to Conference USA. So we'll switch to Horizon League. You have Wright State pick first. I'm also familiar with this league. Wright State pick first, UIC second, new coach. Love that. Youngstown State, another one of those teams that you don't expect to be toward the top of the league, but have some great returning guards and great returning players there. Cleveland State, returning coach of the year, Coach Gates. Heck of a coach, done a great job making just such a blue-collar program at 4. Robert Morris, the new addition at 5. So talk a little bit about this league.
Yeah, first off, Cleveland State's going to be interesting because they added JUCO kid Demoy Hodge. If Brandon Goble's still watching, I'm sure we're going to get a comment from him about Hodge. He's a special kid. He's going to be, I think, a first-team all-league guy. But if you look up and down the league, I think Wright State's the clear favorite. You dealt with them last year. You probably could tell me what makes them go better than I can, but I think it really starts with Loudon Love and what he does in the front court. But Scott Nagy's a terrific coach, and they space you out with 4 out. They played a lot faster last year, which was interesting. They were one of the slowest teams in the country 2 years ago. They play really fast this year, and with Love up there in the middle, it's tough to guard.
Yeah, I just so much credit and so much respect for Coach Nagy and what he's done there at Wright State. And another one of those teams I thought that when March came around could have had a great chance to really do some things. But yeah, the big fella in the middle, just such a tough cover. He's a versatile big kid in Love. Definitely demands attention to paint. Not a lot of big men like him. He's a throwback in that regard. Double kind of machine, 20 and 10. He makes it hard because if you double him, they have so many guys that can make a play or make a shot. So that makes it hard to start. And then he doesn't. Coach Nagy does a great job teaching that spacing and their motion and just kind of giving those guys a lot of freedom to be able to play. So I think that in itself makes them really good and how he coaches them and their competitive nature and their style. So definitely looking forward to seeing what they do again with Love being a returner. Talk a little bit about UIC and Youngstown. I think Youngstown is, their returning guard and their returners that they have definitely make them a team that, anytime we'll talk about this later in the show, but I think when you have experience coming back, it gives you a great chance in any league. And I think just having some guys that have a chip on their shoulder, being at Youngstown as it is anyway. And those guys have not jumped in the transfer portal means they have a great amount of buy-in and a belief in their system. So love the fact to see them at the top of the league. And again, Coach Gates has just done such a tremendous job at Cleveland State to turn that place around in such a short amount of time. And now he's put talent with that. So looking forward to seeing what they do. So talk a little bit about UIC, and then we'll jump to the middle of the league, and then we'll jump to the next league.
Yeah, I mean, you hit a lot of those middle teams well. I think UIC, just real quick, like Luke Yaklich is going to do a terrific job there. That's a heck of a hire. I thought he was going to wait it out for the right job and decided this was the right spot for him. And they bring in a lot of transfers. It's going to be a different looking team right away, but they're going to defend, right? Like, I don't think there's a better coach at game planning a defense maybe in the country than Luke Yaklich. And so with Tavion Kirk coming in, they grabbed a bunch of guys from the Chicago and the Illinois basketball scene, because he's familiar with it from being a high school coach in the region. With Tavion Kirk, Zion Griffin, and they bring some guys back as well with Braylon Bridges, RJ Howard up front. So they'll be a solid team without a doubt.
Yeah, I'd be remiss if I didn't say something about Northern Kentucky, who's would have been the team representing the league in the tournament again last year. I know you have them pick 6, Green Bay 7, Oakland 8, Detroit 9 with one of the best scorers in the country in Davis, Milwaukee 10, Fort Wayne 11, and IUPUI 12. Obviously, I didn't pick IUPUI 12. That was your pick. But I will say they do have one of the best rebounders in the country coming back, and then 2 really, really talented scorers. Marcus Burke, a 20-point-a-game scorer, and Jalen Manette will have a chance to average around the same this year too. So looking forward to seeing what they do and kind of make a little noise as a sleeper in the league. We'll move to the MAC conference. We have Siena, who is near and dear to your heart. You grew up watching them. Iona with their new coach at number 2, St. Peter's 3, Monmouth 4, Manhattan 5, Niagara 6, Rider 7, and Quinnipiac 8. Let's talk about the MAC.
Yeah, gotta show some love to my guys at Siena. I mean, I grew up there. My mom works there right now. My dad's an alum. My brother goes there as we speak. I think he's probably walking to his first class. So, man, it's a place that's definitely near and dear to the heart. And know a lot of great people there. And Coach Carm is a friend. But I think unbiased, I think they're the best team in the league, right? Like Jalen Pickett is as good a mid-major point guard as you will find anywhere. He can really pass and ball screens. He makes life so easy for your big guy. He makes life so easy for a young coach like Coach Carm to just be able to say, hand the keys to Jalen, let him work. And then Manny Camper, I think, is one of the more underappreciated players in the Northeast, because he just plays so dang hard all the time. He's in attack mode. Watch out for some of these young guys too. They had Aiden Carpenter, who, when I had Coach Carm on the podcast this summer, he compared him to Mark Lyons, another Capital Region guy. If you're familiar with him, he played at Xavier and then transferred to Arizona, was a stud at Arizona, having an awesome career, making a lot of money overseas. So yeah, it's a very interesting Siena club, and sure they'll get tested by Coach Patino with a bunch of new guys. It's going to be it'd be fun to watch what he does in the MAC, but I think the Saints at the top are good. Then Shaheen Holloway doing a terrific job at St. Peter's with a defense that is tough to crack, especially with Casey Nadefo protecting the rim.
Yeah, St. Peter's another one of those teams last year that you hate that they didn't get a chance to make their run come March. Just such a great year that Coach Holloway put together. And, yeah, Siena, shout out to Coach Carm also and all that he's done to lead outside the lines. I mean, just what an incredible vision to create coaches for change, and all the initiative that they had around voting and getting schools registered to vote, and just making just the registration process, never pushed who to vote for or anything like that, but he just letting young people have a voice. And I think he just did such a great job of formulating an organization and fighting for change in today's climate. So just shout out to Coach Carm being just such a champion off the floor as well. Let's go to the MAC conference. Talk about Bowling Green. You have number 1, Buffalo at 2, Ball State 3, and Ohio at 4.
Yeah, MAC to MAC, but the Mid-American is going to be a fun league. It always is. Buffalo had it really going with Nate Oates. I still think the talent level is very high. Janathan Williams up front is talented, and they have some terrific guards. Javon Graves is probably the best scorer in the league. But to me, Bowling Green stays the favorite because of their ability to re-recruit their guys. I think we talk a lot now that you have to re-recruit your guys, but Michael Huger literally had to pull his dude out of the transfer portal. Justin Turner, he's a grad transfer. He's looking at all sorts of schools, Marquette, Iowa State, all the high majors wanted him. And Coach Huger is able to pull him out and say, let's do this thing one more time. And Turner's the conference player of the year in preseason for me. He is a very good wing scorer. He can play a little bit with the ball. You play without it. They're a special team, but the guard play all the way up and down this league is special. I mentioned Turner. I mentioned Graves. Ohio has an awesome one in Jason Preston, who can really pass out of ball screens. Great kid for Jeff Bowles. Lauren Jackson at Akron can really shoot the ball at point guard. He's terrific. You can go even further down the line with some of the guys in this league. So the guards are special. It's going to be a fun league to watch, and I'll always enjoy tuning into some Mid-American hoops.
Yeah, Mac to Mac. I like how you did. I like what you did there. I don't think I didn't catch that. So Bowling Green have 1, Buffalo 2, Ball State 3, Ohio 4, Akron 5, Kent State 6, Toledo 7, Eastern Michigan 8, Northern Illinois 9, Miami, Ohio 10, Central Michigan 11, and Western Michigan 12. So now we will get to the MEAC. I know we had some demands and some requests to get to the MEAC, so excited to show some HBCU love. You have North Carolina Central with Coach Moten at 1, Morgan State 2, Coach Bowes, Howard at 3, North Carolina A&T 4, Norfolk State at 5, Coppin State 6, Florida A&M 7, Delaware State 8, South Carolina State 9, and Maryland Eastern Shore 10. Let's talk about the MEAC.
Yeah, man. I'll start with some Morgan State love because that was what the viewers want. But that is a program definitely headed in the right direction. I think a lot of the buzz has been about what Howard has done on the recruiting trail. But if not for a guy like McCure Maker, I think we'd be talking about the job that Morgan State is doing at the recruiting trail, because they had a couple of big time transfers: Sharon Wright from Wake Forest, Torian Ware from Jacksonville State, Trevor Moore from Cincinnati. Like, you don't grab those guys that often at that level, and so things are moving in the right direction. Nassim Khalid, their freshman point guard, was committed to Florida State originally, another guy who probably has more talent than you typically find in this league. So this is a program on the right track. They're going to be interesting. I know there's some questions about who's eligible, who's not with waivers and stuff, but the talent level is extremely high, and they had a nice first year under Coach Broadus. And then obviously we got to talk Howard. With Maker, obviously he's going to be a guy that they put the ball in the hands of. The talent, honestly, around him isn't great. It's moving in the right direction. I think if Nogel Eastern, the transfer from Purdue, gets a waiver, I think he could be just as good as Maker for 1 year in the league, because he's 21, 22 years old. He's 6'7". He handles the ball. His weakness in the Big Ten was he couldn't shoot it. He's 6'7". He's kind of handling the ball. He can't shoot. But I think when you're 6'7", 225 in the MEAC, and you're not playing the 5, you're not playing the 4, you're running around trying to play point guard, I don't know who's guarding him. So he's gonna be special if he's eligible. I know they're still waiting to hear. But if they get him eligible, this is a fun team. But obviously got to show love to NC Central, which is consistently been the top program in the last couple of years, and Coach Moten does a terrific job recruiting and developing talent. Yep.
Yeah, great. Looking forward to seeing what the MEAC conference will be like. Like you said, it's good to see higher level talent and then just higher level notoriety. It's good to see this league get some more love and some more attention and some more following. So looking forward to covering the MEAC all year long. We'll shift next to Missouri Valley, another one of the better mid-major leagues in the country. Loyola Chicago, and what a coach they have there. They're number 1. You have Northern Iowa, again, another long tenured coach who's done a great job. Bradley 3, Southern Illinois 4, Indiana State, you have pick 5, Drake 6, Missouri State 7, Valpo 8, and Illinois State 9.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it on you. I know we linked up last year before you guys took on Loyola Chicago, and it wasn't a fun night. But I mean, obviously the talent level is different. But what made them tick? Like, what was so challenging? I remember we were hanging out in the hotel, and you were like, "All right, how do we match this up? Like, what do you know that I don't?" But like, I mean, they're just so good with Krutwig in the middle. Like, that guy is one of the best big men in the country. But what does it start? Is it the defense that makes it so hard to crack? Is it what they run on offense? They're so spaced. Like, what is it for them?
Yeah, I think first of all, Coach is just an elite communicator and leader himself. Obviously, he's been coveted guy at different places in the country. Kind of reminds you of Brad Stevens and even a Shaka Smart as a mid-major coach, where he's coveted by high major programs. So, and of course, gotten to know him pretty well. He's spoken at some clinics and seen him, and just great level of detail in his teaching and his understanding of his culture. So I'll give credit to Coach first. But yeah, I think similar to how Miami Heat play in a lot of ways. Krutwig is just such a great passer as a big man. They can do a lot of stuff at pinch posts and elbows. They kind of put you in splits, kind of make you they play, not I won't say unconventional because it's becoming more common, Golden State Warriors, if you will, how they play. I think when you add talent with Krutwig and you add some playmaking outside of him, who's a playmaker as a big, I think it just makes it a different guard, a different cover. And I just think they have so much belief and buy-in in their program right now, their culture. Again, you don't go to the Final Four for no reason. There's a very, very good reason why they have. And I just think they have a culture and a momentum and an understanding of identity and who they are. So, yeah, glad I don't have to worry about those scouts anymore or trying to figure out how to get things going there. But, yeah, just really excited to see what they do again and see if they can make a run.
Yeah, and I think, you're glad you don't have to do the scout. I think the teams, by the way, they just added 2 47% three-point shooters from previous years, one from a transfer from Oakland, one from Cooper Cafis, who shot 47% as a freshman. So if it was hard to deal with last year, it's going to be even harder this year. Like, they're going to be so fun to watch. I'm excited. I'm hoping to get down there as much as we can to see the game, obviously with the COVID protocols, see what's allowed. But I'll be calling up their SID, banging on the doors, trying to let me in the building. But it's going to be fun to watch. Northern Iowa, I saw that Loyola Northern Iowa game. I tell you what, that was as high level of basketball game as I watched anywhere all year. Those teams are so well coached. They're so organized. And AJ Green at point guard is unbelievable. He can really, really score. They have shooting on the wing. Trey Burhow can really light it up. And then I think in any other league, Austin Fife would be talked about as one of the best bigs in the conference. One of the best bigs anywhere, and he is. But he gets forgotten by Krutwig. But he is honestly a poor man's Cameron Krutwig. He can do everything Krutwig does. He can pass, he can protect the rim. He can play in pick and roll. He's a lot of fun. And let's not forget about Bradley. They've won the conference tournament the last 2 seasons. I didn't get to dance this past season, but Brian Wardle doing a really good job. And they have a couple of transfers in the backcourt who will help them. And Terry Nolan, Sean East, and Kevin McAdoo.
Yeah, definitely one of those leagues, Missouri Valley. Again, Wichita State, of course, used to be in there along with Creighton. And the history of the Missouri Valley is very high, but the basketball is still very high level. Bradley, we played against last year as well and saw them firsthand. And, they do a heck of a job, and there's a reason why they've gone to the tournament like they have. So, yeah, just looking forward to following that league and kind of seeing what happens from inside out. Going Mountain West. Yeah, we're going Mountain West. We'll go west a little bit, show some love. Definitely a conference that we'll cover in depth on All Access Sports Media. And shout out to the Mountain West Insider, which will be tomorrow morning. Mountain West Hoops Insider. We'll talk even more Mountain West. But, yeah, you have Boise State picked first, which is a little different than Eli has picked. San Diego State, those are the top 2 teams it looks like that most people are picking. You have Boise 1, San Diego State 2, UNLV 3, and Utah State 4. So Colorado State 5, Nevada 6, New Mexico 7, Wyoming with their new coach staff 8, Fresno State 9, Air Force 10, and San Jose State 11. So, yeah, let's jump in Mountain West.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to learn something from watching y'all with you and Eli. And Eli does a terrific job covering the Mountain West and really all college basketball. Big shout out to Heat Check and what they're doing over there. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun league. Boise State is kind of taking on something of a Nevada mold with the transfers that they brought in this year. But Leon Rice is a really good coach, and I think having a coach who's been there as long as he has and is so confident in his culture will help them integrate these transfers, especially in a weird year. Emmanuel Acott was a former 5-star kid. He's 6'8". You could probably play him at the 4, the 5, even the 3. They have an NBA guy coming back in Derek Alston, who would be a bit of potential second-round pick if he went in this past year, decided to come back for one more year. And I think their transfer will fit in well, just stylistically. I don't think everyone needs the ball. Like they had Meladen Armis from ETSU, who is a big bruiser, front court guy who loves to grab rebounds. I think the biggest question whenever you have one of these transfer-heavy teams is how do you mesh everyone's styles and mesh everyone's wants for the ball? And so to have some guys who are willing to sit back and just do their job like Armis, I think will help them immensely. San Diego State coming off a terrific year. I think they'll be, obviously very competitive once again. Coach Dutcher does a great job with the transfer market to beef them up and have a star in Matt Mitchell. I think is the best player in the conference potentially. And then you've got guys like UNLV, Colorado State, Utah State. I mean, the middle of this league is going to be so much fun. I think Nico Medved's doing a great job at Colorado State, but UNLV is a sleeping giant, and obviously in the future they're recruiting at a super high level. I think Coach Otzelberger has two top 50 recruits coming in 2021, but for now they have two of the best guards in this league, and Bryce Hamilton and David Jenkins, to keep them interesting. So very excited about what we'll see out of the Mountain West this season. I think will be arguably the most fun mid-major to watch in all of college basketball.
Yeah, one of the more fun and deep mid-major conferences. San Diego State with just a special year last year. Another one of those teams that you just wish you could have watched in March to see what kind of run they would have been able to make. Boise State done a tremendous job getting transfers. Coach Rice has done as good of a job as you can talk about in this league. UNLV, I mean, just to be able to compete the way they did in year one. Looking forward to seeing what they do in year two. Utah State, I mean, again, just another coach that's been there just 2 years, Coach Smith, and just done such a tremendous job. And again, another one of those teams in March that you hate to see. You didn't get the chance to see what Merrill could have done. That's a guy that what a story he had to be player of the year in this league, and not a guy anybody would have ever projected on any of these shows anywhere to be player of the year. So, and they have a lot of great pieces back. Colorado State, I'm biased towards those guys too. I get a chance to see those guys up close and personal quite a bit, living in the area now. And their point guard is from Texas, who I recruited as well and know his family and coached his brother a little bit. And Isaiah Stevens, what a special freshman he is. And, of course, Roddy as well, good player. Nevada loses a big one in Harris, another Texas guy. But Coach Alford always finds a way to compete, and he's very familiar with this league and his days in New Mexico having success. Going to New Mexico, they lose some guys that may be addition by subtraction. They also add a coach in the league from Air Force that maybe will bring a wrinkle or two to kind of add to what they have. I'm really interested to see what Wyoming does. We'll talk more about it with Eli, of course, but I think Coach Linder, another one of those guys, is kind of a mad scientist when it comes to this basketball thing. He's just kind of figured out ways to put the right ingredients in to figure out how to create winning. Fresno State, Coach Hudson did such a tremendous job the first year. Last year was kind of a transitional year player-wise to change their roster. I know they made some additions and hope they can get some waivers to go through so they can be where they need to be. And then Air Force with a new coach, and then San Diego State still just competing to figure out how they can kind of make the jump to the middle of the league. So looking forward to following the Mountain West. We'll go next to the NEC. We have Bryan at the top, LIU Brooklyn next, and then Fairleigh Dickinson third.
I mean, we'll make it quick. I think the biggest story last year was Merrimack, obviously, first year D1 to win the conference. Joey Gallo's got it really going there, and they've got some young guys. They lose a ton, but they have a young guy in Jordan Minor at the big man spot who I think is going to be special. I know when I made my rankings, I think a lot of people in the league told me, hey, man, like, where's Fairleigh? Well, why aren't Fairleigh Dickinson and LIU, or you're 1 and 2? I think that's the common mold, but I'm buying Bryant, man. I think Jared Grosso is as good a recruiter as you will find, and they have a lot of guys who are just a step above what you would find in the NEC normally. Peter Kiss was a guy who averaged 13 a game at Quinnipiac as a freshman. He transfers out. He goes to Rutgers for 2 years in the rotation 2 years ago, didn't play last year, and now will be, I think, probably potentially the best player in this conference. He can really score. They have some young guards like Michael Green and Charles Pride, who were probably a little bit higher level kid than you would typically get in this league. And the transfer heavy squad as well, with Luke Sutherland from Siena coming down, Melo Eggleston from Arkansas State coming down. So they have some pieces there. And then the secret sauce, their rim protector, Hal Elijah, the JUCO guy who really protects from one of the best shot blockers in the country, is an impact player on the defensive side for them, and helps them be aggressive at the point of attack on the perimeter, because they can gamble and he's back there erasing stuff. So Bryant's my choice, but great players at LIU Brooklyn with Tyron Flowers and Fairleigh Dickinson with Jaleel Jenkins.
Yeah, competitive league at the top. I'm not as familiar with this league, but I know these top three teams just kind of looking at the polls, there's been a lot of different people that have picked differently than you did. So that says a lot about the top of the league here. So we'll say the rest of the league, you have Merrimack at 4, Mount St. Mary's at 5, St. Francis at 6, St. Francis Brooklyn at 7, 8 you have Wagner, 9 Sacred Heart, and then 10 you have Central Connecticut State. We'll move to the Ohio Valley. Before we do that, we're going to give Kevin a quick 1 or 2 minutes to just talk about his website, his podcast, and kind of get that going.
Yeah, man. I mean, you can check us out. The cbbcentral.com has been where all our conference previews are. It's why I'm able to rattle off all these random statistics about teams. I promise I do not have all of this stored to memory all 12 months of the year, but it all comes through in the final month or two before the season because of the preview work I've been doing. So that's all on my website, and you can get more in-depth breakdowns on every team there. My podcast, CBB Central Podcast, on Apple, it's on Spotify. It's a good show with me and Brad, and we record that usually on Sundays and Monday nights, and break down what we've seen on the court. So it's a lot of fun. Probably a little different style than what we'll do here because obviously got a different perspective with Brian than I get with Brad. So I think if you like this show, you'll like that show, but for different reasons. So definitely check that out as well.
Yeah, we want to make sure we give a chance to show some love to the stuff that you're doing outside of this. You're doing such a great job covering coast to coast. The season preview might be kind of the more challenging show to do, but you've done so much prep work during the pandemic. We're rolling through it, man. You're doing an awesome job. So we'll go to Ohio Valley. We have Austin Peay picked first by Kevin. Murray State second. What a program that they have. Belmont third. Eastern Illinois fourth. Jacksonville State fifth. Eastern Kentucky sixth. Tennessee State 7, UT Martin. Again, just heavy-hearted with that situation at UT Martin with the tragic news yesterday of Coach Stewart passing away. Prayers to his family, prayers to the community there, prayers to the school, to his son and his family members. Just heavy-hearted. It would be remiss if I didn't speak on that. But have them at 8. Morehead State at 9, Tennessee Tech at 10, Southeast Missouri State at 11, and SIUE at 12. So, let's talk Ohio Valley real quick.
Yeah, I mentioned this in my preview that I wrote up, but I've been doing this 4 or 5 years now, and this is the first time I'm not picking either Murray State or Belmont. Those leagues have had a monopoly at the top, and I think it says a whole heck of a lot about what Matt Figger has done to have Austin Peay in a position to win this league. But to me, they're the clear favorite because they have 2 outstanding players, and Terry Taylor, who's going to score 2,500 points in his career, game changer recruit, came in with Coach Figger, and they added Jordan Adams last year, really gifted scoring guard who can really shoot the ball. So that duo is as good as it gets. And then they had 2 really good transfers, Mike Peake, who was a key player for Mocan in the EYBL circuit, reclassified to play at Georgia last season, was in and out of the rotation. I think the OVC level where he can be a 6'8" 5-man, I think is really the right fit for him. And I think he'll be an impact guy. And Corbin Merritt will help them as a rim protector as well. JUCO guy, started his career, went to Oklahoma as well. They have some younger guards as well who are interesting. This is a team, circle Austin Peay right now. You will want to watch them in March. They're a special club that I think could win a game in the NCAA tournament. Yeah,
Coach Figger has really done a great job. And Jordan Adams, another Texas guy, so got to show some love to him. He's actually from the Golden Triangle. Those of you that know Texas, when I was at Lamar, the Golden Triangle is kind of that area. And so Jordan is actually originally committed to Baylor a long time ago. So it's never been a question of his talent. He's put up some huge numbers, put his name in the draft, I believe, at one point, and decided to come back as a freshman. So, but like you said, Murray State, they have a talented group coming back too. Looking forward to see that they're always going to compete to be at the top. Credit to Austin Peay for making the jump in the projection. But Belmont and Murray State have also been teams that have always been year in and year out. So that league will always be interesting to watch the top this year, especially just as much as any. Let's go SEC. Getting to back to our high major league. In Tennessee, you have picked first. Kentucky second. LSU third. Florida fourth. Alabama fifth. Arkansas sixth. South Carolina 7, Auburn 8, Ole Miss 9, Missouri 10, Texas A&M 11, Georgia 12, Mississippi State 13, and Vanderbilt 14. Let's talk SEC.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of surprise nationally when Tennessee got picked number 1 in the SEC preseason poll. But I've been on that bandwagon for a while. I think they're better than Kentucky. They bring back their front court from last year in East Pons and John Fulkerson. The other guy that they bring back at point guard is Santiago Vescovi. Talk about a great story. He's a kid, I believe, from Argentina, and he was committed to be in this 2020 class. Or he's from Uruguay, excuse me. Yeah, he was committed in 2020. And essentially, Tennessee lost their point guard in late November, and he reclassified up, joined them mid-year, and he averaged 10 points, 4 assists, played 30 minutes a game right out of the gate. Like, as a freshman point guard to not have any practice time, I don't think anyone, and you could speak to this more than anyone, like, I would not want to have to deal with that as a coach. And, like, for him to do the job he did was impressive. He's going to be a stud. Josiah James was a 5-star. He comes back for another year, and we always talk about these Kentucky recruiting classes. How about this Tennessee recruiting class? They have 2 guards in Keon Johnson and Jaden Springer, who I think are just as good as any kid Kentucky has coming in this year. These guys are first-round talents. These are guys that will be high-level players at this level. I'm so excited about this group. I think they have national title aspirations and a terrific coach in Rick Barnes.
Yeah, and just kind of going another one of those leagues, high-level league. Anybody can really make a run. I think Texas A&M, I'd be remiss again being a Texas guy and showing some bias towards Texas. Incredible run that they made last year. They weren't necessarily supposed to be a team that was supposed to be in the fight. Coach Williams does just such a tremendous job, again, with his culture and building it. Early on, they lost some games that made a lot of people question, how is this team going to be? Are they going to win a game in the SEC? And for them to create and take the jump in that culture, looking forward to seeing what they do this year. South Carolina, you always have to give Frank Martin his love, and he's kind of one of those similar guys that just finds a way to get his team competing. Arkansas, we talked about Coach Patrick making the move from UC Riverside, and Coach Musk has done a great job there as well. Look forward to seeing what they do. Let's talk kind of Florida, Alabama, and even any other sleepers that you see that can make a jump in this league and make a run.
Yeah, I think both Muss at Arkansas and Nate Oates at Alabama in their second year. I think this will really show where they're going with their culture and with what they're trying to build. I think it's very different from their predecessors. Nate Oates is a hard hat guy. I think a lot different from what Avery Johnson was, but they want to play super fast, and they have the personnel to do it. Their guards are so deep. They have Jaden Shackelford, who I think is going to be a stud this season. John Petty can really shoot. Keon Ellis, JUCO kid who can light it up. Josh Primo, top 50 kid from Canada, who's going to be an impact guy. And the X factor here, Javon Quinterly. This is a guy who was a 5-star. He was going to go to Arizona, had the FBI scandal going on, goes to Villanova. Didn't work out with him and Jay Wright, but I think he understands that this is the time for him, and they're going to give him the keys. So he's going to be a fun guy to watch. Excited about what Alabama does. And if you want to watch a team that plays at NBA type pace in college basketball, it's the Crimson Tide, and I think that's one of the main reasons why Nate Oates is having so much success on the recruiting trail. Obviously, he's leveraging a brand in Alabama, which will have some cachet when you're talking about football, and I think people understand what the vibe is at Alabama. It's a lot of fun. I think if I was a freshman trying to find a place to spend a year in college, Alabama wouldn't be a bad spot. And they've done well on the recruiting trail. They have a 21 5-star coming in from in-state and J.D. Davison. So future bright at Alabama, and I think they'll be very competitive this season.
Yeah, you have SEC in the third spot. You have LSU, which we didn't talk much about, but again, another team that can compete to win this league. So we could talk SEC and high major basketball all day. We'll switch to Southern Conference. UNC Greensboro, you have picked first, Furman second, Mercer third, East Tennessee fourth, Western Carolina fifth, Wofford 6, Samford 7, and Chattanooga 8. Kind of one of those leagues that the name of it doesn't make you ring a bell like, ooh, the Southern Conference. But when you think about it and get into the basketball in this league, another high-level, underrated mid-major league.
Yeah, I think it's just the coaching, right? I mean, you look back 2 years ago, Wofford's head coach Mike Young gets an ACC job for Virginia Tech. This past offseason, ETSU, their head coach, Steve Forbes, gets a job at Wake Forest, another ACC job. They got 2 more guys in this league who I think are ACC caliber head coaches in Wes Miller at UNCG, and Bob Ritchie at Furman, two really, really sharp basketball minds. I think UNCG is the favorite. They have a terrific point guard in Isaiah. Why am I blanking here? Hold on. It's like the first time I blanked all day. This is
he's human, ladies and gentlemen. He's human after all.
Isaiah Miller, I got it. There we go. Very athletic, great defender. He's going to be a fun guy to watch. And they had a kid in Hayden Koval from Central Arkansas, big, kind of unicorn type big guy, 7 foot, who could stretch it. So he'll be an impact guy for them. I think they win the league over a Furman team that runs really good stuff, tough to prepare for with how they run their offense.
Yeah, another one of those leagues, like you said, coaching changes. Mercer at the 3 spot with their new coach, Coach Gary's done a great job. One of my guys I worked with, Bobby Coomer, was rated number 1 conference assistant. So hope they can keep getting that thing going over at Mercer. Again, you talked about the Wofford coach going to Virginia Tech and doing great things. We have Steve Forbes. So his assistant coach took over the job at East Tennessee State. I look forward to their culture kind of being similar to what it was with Forbes and kind of bringing that assistant coach energy, that new fire. Look forward to seeing what they do. So, yeah, another competitive league in the Southern Conference. We'll go down south and go Southland Conference, who I have a little familiarity with. Stephen F. Austin, picked 1, is normally the pick in this league. Abilene Christian has done Joe Golding has just done an amazing job. Brett Tanner, his associate coach as well, and his staff of competing to where not only they went to the tournament, but now they're consistently year in and year out one of the top teams in this league. Austin Clouch, what he's done at Nicholls State, you have him 3rd, which is, again, another credit. Nicholls State, until Richie Riley got there, was never a place that you consider to be a championship caliber team in this league. Lamar, my former boss, as well as Joe Golding, who I work for, Tick Price. I think this is a year that they could definitely make some noise to make the run that they want to make. You have them at 4. Corpus Christi with Willis Wilson, 5. Sam Houston State, you have picked 6. Central Arkansas, 7. Northwestern State, 8. McNeese State, 9. New Orleans, 10. Incarnate Word, 11. Southeastern Louisiana, 12. And Houston Baptist, 13. Talk a little bit about your thoughts real quick on the Southland Conference.
Yeah, Stephen F. Austin should be the favorite. Interesting group. Obviously, they lose Kevon Harris, who was so good, but Gavin Kensmeal is the terrific big man who I think you can run a lot through. And then they add, a guy you coached, and Nigel Hawkins, who I think will be a nice piece for them in the backcourt. They needed a guy who could create and get to the basket, and I think he'll do that for them. And then throughout the league, I think it's a league where there's a lot of defensive pressure. There's a lot of turnovers. It gets a little wild out there, but I think when you look around, the 3 teams that are best at forcing turnovers are the 3 best teams in the league: Nicholls, Stephen F. Austin, and then of course Abilene Christian. So those 3 guys do a terrific job at the helm. And I think when you look at Nicholls, they bring in some transfers. A guy I think will be very good in this league, and Sean Williams, who was at East Carolina, averaged 12 points a game, went to New Mexico State, didn't really work out, gets 1 more shot at Nicholls. He could be a guy who could score, very similar to the way Richie Riley built it. And another guy I like there is Damian Sears, the St. John's transfer. I think a skilled big man who will be a nice fit, particularly since they lose Worth Alatishe, who is a terrific defensive player in the front court for them.
Yeah, look forward to the competitive race at the top. It's been more and more competitive at the top to see other teams go to the league. Stephen of Austin, of course, Coach Keller, Coach Cox, Coach Wade Mason, great staff that they do a great job. But looking forward to seeing a competitive battle in that league and seeing kind of how it shakes out. Let's go next to the Summit League. You have South Dakota State first. South Dakota is kind of running the state, running the league. You have them 2nd, North Dakota State 3rd, Omaha 4th, Oral Roberts 5th, Kansas City 6th, Western Illinois 7, North Dakota 8, and Denver at 9. Tell us about what your thoughts are on your predictions on the Summit League.
Yeah, I mean, I think the future is bright for Kansas City and Western Illinois with 2 really good coaches in Billy Donlin and Rob Jeter. Jeter in year 1 has brought in some kids. They hired Nick Irvin, the head coach of Morgan Park, and it's got him some talent. Like Marcus Watson, who's committed to Wake Forest, decommits after the coaching change, winds up at Western Illinois. That's a high-level talent for the league. Those two programs are still going to take time. I think it's going to just take a little time to build it. But a team like South Dakota State, I think, is really well positioned to win the league yet again. They get tested right away. They're playing in the Crossover Classic in Sioux Falls with a ton of talent, talented teams. I think they open with Creighton, but they have a great front court in Doug Wilson and Matt Detlinger, good guards. David Wingy can really shoot it. Noah Friedel is solid. Like, this is a very well-coached team that is hard to guard. They were 4th in the country in effective field goal percentage last season. So it's tough to prepare for. And Jackrabbits are rolling despite losing David Jenkins 2 years ago, despite losing Mike Daum 2 years ago, losing their head coach in Otzelberger. Things moving in the right direction. Yale still one of the better mid-major programs in that region.
Yeah, we'll go next to Sun Belt Conference. I think we have 4 conferences left in our preview. So we'll go next to the Sun Belt. You have Little Rock picked first, Georgia State picked second, South Alabama picked third, Coastal Carolina 4th, UT Arlington 5th, Louisiana 6th, App State 7, Georgia Southern 8, Texas State 9, and Arkansas State 10. Yeah, go ahead and segue into straight into the Sun Belt. Little Rock at the top.
Yeah, Little Rock's really good. Darrell Walker is terrific coach, and has a really good point guard center duo with Ruat Manyang and Marquise Noel. But they do lose their 4-man, and Kamani Johnson, who was a big-time rebounder and a guy who got to the free throw line with regularity. That will hurt them. I think Richie Riley's got a terrific, very talented group at South Alabama. Obviously, he's building it there, and I think we'll do a terrific job. And if you look up and down this roster, they bring in some very high level kids. The kid, JUCO kid, David Walker, who can really score. They got a waiver for Michael Flowers from Western Michigan. He was a 17-point a game guy at the mid-major level already. They have a couple other transfers they add. Sam Iorio from American can really stretch it. Kyle Gonzalez, D2 transfer, can really stretch the floor. When you're recruiting at this level, you're going to eventually start winning conference championships, and they were in position to do it last year. I think they'll be in position once again to be right in the mix once again.
Yeah, they got hot, really hot. I think went undefeated, I believe, in maybe it was the month of January, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. They got really hot. Maybe it was February. Didn't lose a game and won a bunch of games down the stretch. Georgia State, also another team that you have picked second that can compete to win the league. Coastal Carolina 4. So, yeah, Sun Belt Conference, another one of those leagues that is underrated as far as the level of talent and the level of coaching. And look forward to seeing kind of what happens in that league. So let's go next to the SWAC Conference. Give the HBCU some more love. Tell me, you have Texas Southern first, Prairie View second, Southern third. It's been kind of the top 3 in that league. What made you pick in that order?
And it was tough. I think when you look at Texas Southern, obviously Johnny Jones is doing a really nice job, and I think their guard play with guys like Justin Hopkins and John Jones, his son, is really good. And they have a forward in Yahuza Razas, who I think is going to be special, going to be a double guy this year. I just think with Prairie View losing some guys, obviously they have done a terrific job building up that program. Byron Smith does a great job, and to win 19 games last year is a tough thing to do at that level, but I think they just lose too much to get picked number 1, and I had to roll back to the conference power, Texas Southern.
Yeah, and then Southern and Coach Woods has a great returning team. They've done a good job on the recruiting trail. Coach Price, again, his assistant got recognized as one of the top decisions in the league. Texas Southern, Johnny Jones has always done a great job. It's kind of this power 3 at the top. It's been that way. Definitely will be a competitive battle. I know, like you said, Prairie View A&M lost some big pieces, but they also have acquired some pieces, and I think their culture being in place, it's kind of one of those teams similar to Texas Southern and Southern in this league where you kind of know every year, no matter what the names are on the jersey, you kind of know what to expect. A hard-nosed league, a really competitive league. The level of play and the level of competitiveness doesn't get as much credit as it deserves. You have Jackson State 4, Grambling State 5, Alabama A&M 6, Alcorn 7, Alabama State 8, Arkansas Pine Bluff 9, and Mississippi Valley 10. Also, shout out to the assistant from Prairie View who got the job at Alcorn State. Really cool when you can see success happen and then guys get a job in the same league. So shout out to Coach on that. Want to cover the last 2 leagues next. We got the WAC Conference, which has been dominated by New Mexico State as far as winning. Coach James Miller, Anwar, and Corey and their staff, New Mexico State, the names change, but the result doesn't change. So I don't expect that to be any different. What a tremendous job. He's got to be one of the top targets for a lot of places as far as people on the radar, doing a great job as far as moving up to the next vacant available spot. So I'll be curious to see how that plays out as they continue to keep winning. But Grand Canyon, you have second. UTRGV, who's made such a jump under Coach Lou Hill, done a tremendous job turning that program around. They're in the top 3 now. Projections by you. Cal Baptist 4, Seattle 5, Utah Valley 6, Dixie State 7, Tarleton State, new addition to the league, along with Dixie State coming from D2, and then Chicago State, you have 9. Let's talk WAC hoops.
Yeah, I mean, New Mexico State's been in a weird spot. I mentioned the state restrictions a little bit with the California teams. They still haven't been allowed to practice because their state only allows them to gather in groups of 5. So they've been looking to set up some kind of hotel setup in another state to be able to play. The New Mexico football team had to do that. And so I know there's some buzz about maybe Phoenix or Las Vegas for New Mexico State, which might hurt them early on. Just that they're kind of adjusting to a new spot, but they're the best team in the league. They're the best coach team in the league. Jabari Rice is a terrific player. It's 6'4" guard who can really create and slash on the wing. And they just, like you said, they recruit at a high level and just bring in new faces every year who can really impact the game in a number of ways. So I think they're favorite. They have a couple transfers coming in who will be dangerous. Like them a lot. I do think Grand Canyon's heading in the right direction with the new coach now and Bryce Drew. I think Thunder Dan got a little bit. They got a little bit too caught up in the glitz of the place. I think when you're talking about a program that has so much fan buzz and so much money, I think they got caught up in trying to be a brand and not trying to be a basketball program. I think Bryce will get them back to that, and their guards are very good with Mikey Dixon, Javon Blackshear. They get a kid in transfer from Oregon State, Sean Miller Moore, who's really athletic, and I think will help them. I think they'll get back to basics this year and be good. And you mentioned UTRGV, terrific point guard, and Javon Levy, who we think will be one of the better players in this conference. And really, like you said, Coach Hill is doing a terrific job there. They're really building it.
Yeah, Coach Hill just done such a tremendous job. One of those places, not a destination place. We talked about Nichols and what Richard Riley's done, and it's very similar with UTRGV. And credit to them. Look forward to seeing how the new teams adjust. Dixie State and Tarleton State coming into the league from Division II adds a couple new elements. Bakersfield is no longer in the league. But New Mexico State is the staple. And until somebody knocks them off the hill, which is very hard to do, they'll be on top, and look forward to them. Look forward to seeing how they do with their new squad and adjust to this new COVID restrictions. And one thing you know about them, they're always going to find a way. So I have no doubts. Last conference preview, WCC. Gonzaga, number 1, arguably could be the best team and one of the best teams in the country. BYU, probably a sleeper team in the country as far as really going to make a jump this year. And the additions that they've made on the transfer wire and what they have coming back has been impressive. San Francisco, Todd Golden, and again, another one of those kind of rising star coaches in our business, really good at what he does. St. Mary's goes without question how consistent they are and what they do with their program. Pepperdine, you have 5th, Pacific and Coach Stoudemire. What a tremendous record-breaking year last year they had at Pacific at 6. Loyola Marymount with their new coach, Stan Johnson, at 7. San Diego, 8. Santa Clara, 9. And Portland, 10. Let's talk WCC.
Yeah, I'm bored because I watched the Gonzaga blue and white game or whatever it was, like their little scrimmage that they were streaming. I was like, I gotta watch this, see what they got, and they look good. I mean, they had this 5-star freshman Jalen Suggs, who's gonna be an impact guy. Corey Kispert looks great; he's continued to improve. And Drew Timme, the sophomore big man, was a Texas kid, was a fringe 5-star and good as a freshman. I think he's gonna be great as a sophomore. This is gonna be a top 3 team in the country without a doubt. Yeah, BYU is the other team I really wanted to highlight though with the job of Mark Pope. I mean, they run such good offense. Obviously, they lose a lot. They lose, really what made them so good with the shooting. Some of the guys they lose, who could really light it up, like Hawes. And but I think with Matt Harms coming in the front court, the 7'3" transfer from Purdue, he'll be really good. And they've recruited really well. I know if BG's still watching, we want me to shout out Gideon George, the JUCO guy. Is like a son to him. It sounded like when we were chatting about him. He's so athletic. He's gonna be good. Yeah, here it is. Knew it was coming.
Right on time.
He's gonna be good. I'm excited to see what George can do. I know I was saw some clips from practice that made him look like he was really surprised. He's talented. So excited about BYU and obviously San Francisco, like you mentioned. Pepperdine, I think one more team with a guy that I think is impressive. And Colby Ross, that is as good a mid-major point guard you will find. He can really, really light it up.
Yep, definitely going to be a great league to watch and continue to see. So we've covered coast to coast, got every league, got the preview in. We'll close the show in the next 10 and 15 minutes. We'll take a quick timeout to just kind of give the viewers a little bit of insight on All Access Sports Media. This is obviously a new division of All Access Network, which is also new. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter as well. And it started with All Access Coaches Corner, which just was a way to highlight coaches and show love to them, and kind of was a coaches development almost in the off season. And then now just starting this sports media side of it to cover sports and be able to give some insight to all levels of sports. So excited about sports media, excited about everything that's going on with All Access Network. Thanks so much for joining in. We'll end with about 5 questions that we have kind of about the season going in. And again, thanks so much for everybody tuning in. Appreciate the support, JUCO Advocate and Brandon Goebel and everyone that's been on. Incredible job, guys. Thanks, Brandon. And so one question, what type of teams do you think will be successful in this kind of crazy year that we're dealing with all this uncertainty with coronavirus and travel and everything else?
I think it's just when you have veterans, right? I think what teams were able to get stuff done over the summer when they were maybe meeting on Zoom, they weren't around. I think, when you have an experienced group that coaches itself, I mean, you can speak to that, but it makes everything easier. And you have guys who are going to lead and check in on each other. I think that's going to help. I think the discipline, right? Like, I don't want a bunch of freshmen running around campus right now, quite frankly, who can, hit a party and screw everything up for a couple of weeks for you. So I think older, disciplined teams, I think, will be experienced. I mean, we mentioned Richmond with that regard, but it's a matter of personal discipline. And I think when you look at these senior-led groups who are comfortable with one another, I think that'll show on the floor, especially early on. And if you're a team like Richmond, maybe who's trying to get an at-large bid, if you're a team like San Diego State, whose culture is established, Loyola Chicago, whose culture is established, I think they will benefit greatly from that first month of the season, being a little bit more familiar with guys, even if they didn't have a full slate of practices here in September and October.
Yeah, I think the word adaptability comes to mind. I think you're so right about experience. I think most teams are finding a way, whether transfer market, whether JUCO transfers, to get older in general. But I do think having returners is going to play a factor. But I just think the adaptability, I think this is going to be the most unpredictable season we've ever seen in college basketball because of all the variation of factors. Even if your team maybe not dealing with some of the COVID challenges per se, or having somebody test positive, and then now you have to figure that out. Somewhat of it is the teams you play, or maybe it's the state you're in, like you said with New Mexico State having to practice the way that they've had to, and in California they've been outside a lot of times and they've been restricted. So I think no matter what space you're in, I think just your team's ability to adapt and adjust as the season goes on is definitely the teams that'll have the most success. And everyone's trying to get to that 13-game marker, right, to be eligible for the postseason play for NCAA tournament. And I think you'd be surprised who gets hot because of not knowing and not having a regular season. The flow, anybody can get hot at any time. So I think that's kind of an exciting variable for the season. Second question would be mid-major conference. How important will the non-conference be, and how will that affect teams as you're trying to get at large bids?
Yeah, I think it's very important for that, high-level major league, your Missouri Valley, your Mountain West, your A-10, your Conference USA, those leagues, and they get some opportunities. I know Western Kentucky's in that Louisville bubble. Loyola Chicago's in a small tournament with, I think, Duquesne and Cincinnati. Those are opportunities. Some of the Utah State got into the crossover classic at Sioux Falls. I think those are great opportunities to get wins that will matter on a resume. I think Richmond gets, Kentucky and West Virginia, 2 potential top 10 teams. Maybe they steal one of those. That gets them closer to the at-large territory. But it's incredibly important for those teams to get those opportunities. And I think that's one of the unique things about, with COVID scheduling, which we'll get to. Like, every team has different priorities, right? Some teams want home games. Some teams are like, let's punt all our home games this year because we're not going to have as many fans. We're going to have no fans, and let's see if we can play on the road this year and get a home and home back. Some teams are saying, okay, well, what are we even doing here playing non-conference games? Why don't we just sit out and play conference? So it's going to be interesting. But I think the teams that benefit most from a non-conference schedule would be one, high major bubble teams who, quite honestly, are going to need to get some easy wins. Like if you're Maryland, let's say you're 11th in the Big Ten in my preseason picks, you have an outside shot at the NCAA tournament. You got to play some easy games here. You got to get some wins. You got to get them in the books. And I think at the high mid-major level, it's the opposite. You want to get those teams on your schedule as much as you can. You want to get everybody get tested and see what you can do against that high level of competition and prove yourself as an NCAA tournament caliber team. Because once conference play starts, it seems like narratives have already been written by the time those games get started playing.
Yeah, conference play will be huge as it is every year in every league. And the one bid league, I think, is going to be even more ones to watch because of some of the unknowns around health and travel and all those things. So I do think conference play, because there's going to be some preseason stuff that may not go through the way that people project. There may be people. I think I just talked to a coach last night actually that said that they had 2 games that they just lost because one team just decided to cancel all of their preseason games. So it'll be interesting to see. I do think if you can sneak a big win in the non-conference, it might be as impactful as any other year because there's not as many games that may be played on the schedule. So definitely a big question to be able to continue to watch as the season goes on. Another question, just the back-to-back games. I know Sunbelt may be one of the leagues that's doing it, or where you travel to a opposing team's home location and you play 2 games there. So you kind of play one game, sit a day, and then come back and play again. So I've experienced it as a coach, as an assistant coach, in a home and road situation when maybe you play your travel partner in league, but never have I done it or seen it where you have to play the same team on the road twice or you have a same team at home. So definitely a interesting challenge. Tell us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting. And I think it's another area where having an older team will help you because if you're, you got to flush it. If you have a bad game on Thursday or Friday night, you got to play again Saturday. Honestly, I mean, from a protocol standpoint, my guess is they're going to be saying, let's not leave the hotel for that day between the game. You're not going to be taking a team walk. You're not going to be going to, the movies. I remember Jimmy Patz was at Siena, loved to take his team to the movies on the day off on the Western road trip. Like, I don't think you're hitting the movie theater this year. So having a team that's well connected and can spend time together on the road, I think will be really valuable. But as a coach, what would your mindset be if you were trying to get your team to flush it after 24 hours, flush a loss, and play again against the exact same team? Do you think you guys would be focused? Would it be a frustration? How would you get them back the next day?
Yeah, I think so. 2 things I'll say. I think really challenging setup no matter what because of COVID, because some of the things you're used to doing, whether it's take your team to the movies or even I don't know how the walkthrough situation goes in between. Are they allowing them to get in the gym? I would hope so, but you just never know how they're going to limit some of the things. So you have to get creative with your walkthroughs in your hotel. It just makes it where preparation is already really important in college basketball as a coach, but it becomes such a premium to be able to make those adjustments. And how good is your team at being able to digest and download the game plan and then go execute. So I think it just comes down to, again, you talked on it some, and as a coach, we all know how important it is. But this year, maybe more than any, just to be connected to your team and having a pulse and having a feel. And people have talked about this too. I mean, just the mental health challenge that your athletes are going through, right? Not only just losing the game, but just dealing with staying in the hotel room all day or whatever it may be. I think there's some different challenges there. But I think one of the main things is just your ability to make the adjustments from one game to the next. It's almost NBA-like bubble, if you will. The playoffs, they're playing back-to-backs in the same gym. So I think the advantage comes because the other team is in their comfort zone, right? But it's not because of the fan base necessarily. So I think that road element probably gets taken out of it. So that's not as much of a factor. But I do think the good thing is the quick turn of even if guys struggle a little bit with scout report, you just played them. So it should be a lot of familiarity to I think those sweeps will be really difficult because I think teams will be able to bounce back easier. And I think if you win a game, the first game, I think it's really hard to turn back around and have your team focused to beat the same team you just played. I think it's always a challenge. So it'll be interesting to see, but I think it's definitely a smart strategy to try to keep the COVID cases at a low for those leagues that are doing that. Second to last question, just kind of a big unknown. How will COVID really affect this season? In your thought, whether it's travel, whether again talking to one coach in the Big East, talking about their team is now on a 14-day, not able to be in the gym as a team, so they're getting stuff with the strength coach. They're doing things in small groups. But if you get that in the season, do you shut down the whole team because one guy has it, or do you just shut that guy down for 14 days? And if you shut the whole team down, then how do you get your team back ready to – after 14 days, you won't be ready to play on the 15th day necessarily. So how will those things affect the season in your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think anyone knows. It's the great unknown. I think one of the main things that I think has frustrated a lot of people is the lack of consistency. The NCAA has guidelines, which includes that 2-week team shutdown, but it doesn't necessarily have a true. This is you don't have to do it. So I know the Big Ten, they test every day, and they've had teams have cases. They don't shut it down, or they shut it down for 2-3 days, test everybody again, and then get it back to work. Whereas the MAC and the Big East, I know, for instance, are shutting it down for 2 weeks after every positive test. And I think that's going to be a hurdle. I know there's a lot of coaches who are frustrated by the rule. I think there's a lot of scientists who honestly think maybe we could do it a little bit differently. Maybe we could test them, after 7 days and let them back in if everybody's clean. So I think I know the NCAA said that they'll continue to look at the rules and continue to update them as things go. So I think everyone's hopeful that rule comes off the board or guideline, I guess, comes off the board, because I think it would simplify a lot of things. So otherwise you're going to have a lot of canceled games. But again, I think a lot of it just comes down to adaptability, comes down to discipline and following the protocols. And when those cases do come up, the ability to be flexible, right? And, college football, we've seen games scheduled on a week's notice. There's no reason why in college basketball you couldn't schedule a game on 3-4 days notice, right? I mean, I wouldn't want to be a director of ops this year. It doesn't sound like a fun job, but you get everybody on a bus and head 2 hours or 3 hours to play a game over the weekend. If both teams are ready to play, let's play. Like, I think that should be the mindset. The whole point of this is about the kids and getting a chance to compete and setting up for an NCAA tournament. And I think whenever you can play. I think that should be the mindset. And hopefully everybody can, put egos aside and make sure things happen.
Yeah, definitely safety of everyone and players is so important. And every institution will have their different kind of policies and ways that they see is best for their institution. Definitely you just hope that once the season gets going, hopefully things smooth out. I think a lot of questions were surrounding college football, and again, Big Ten wasn't even going to play. And the next thing you know, they're playing and things are running relatively smooth, all things considered. But even at all levels of college football, and I think same was for NBA. Same was now they had a bubble, which is unique, but same for even NFL and Major League Baseball, who didn't have bubbles. So I think once they get to playing, hopefully things kind of smooth themselves out and a lot of the kinks can be worked out. Whereas before you play games, everyone's trying to be extra cautious, which is a good thing. So last kind of big question, NCAA tournament, how does that look? The bubble, getting teams in. What's your thoughts on kind of leading to that time of year? Because it sounds like more than anything, the NCAA is going to find a way to have a tournament this year.
They got to try. I mean, the budgets are all tied to it. And I get that we don't want to talk about it as a business, but it is. And they got to get this done. I think everyone wants it. I think everybody in the world wants the NCAA tournament. Obviously, what it looks like will depend quite a bit on protocols, right? Like if we woke up this morning to some positive vaccine news, and so maybe that vaccine news will propel us to be able to have some fans in the stands, maybe be able to play safely and not have to worry about a bubble. But I think if you're Dan Gavitt and you're the people who play in the NCAA tournament, a bubble has to be part of your thinking, because you'd be foolish not to have that in your plans at least, and you can change later. So whether that's a one-site thing, whether that's pods, little things like that, you just got to do. You just do what you can to put that product on the floor. But it would not surprise me if we wind up with an NCAA tournament in some kind of controlled environment this season. Yeah,
I think it's probably a must for many reasons. I think we all know that. And, after watching NBA, again, after watching the Dodgers win the win the World Series. NFL is going on now. And obviously this is college athletics and college football is going on. But you just hope for the sport. You hope for these young men and the coaches and the programs that put so much into it. I mean, lives are changed from what happens in the NCAA tournament, whether that's coaching jobs or guys in the NBA status, or whether it's guys even in their post-professional career that's not basketball, because of opportunities that happen from the NCAA tournament. And not only that, but just the memories. And we all love picking our brackets, but, the people that are inside of it, you hope for them more so than even just the fans. The fans we want to be able to have, just for entertainment purposes and for our own loyalties to our programs and people we support. But you hope for the coaches that put so much energy into it, the athletes that have grown up, wanting to play and have those confetti dreams and play and have that one shining moment played. So you definitely hope that there's a way that they can find out to do it. So that wraps up our first show. Thanks so much for everybody for joining. We wanted to go no longer than 2, and we're right at 2. Kevin did an incredible job of swinging coast to coast and taking the jet and taking the van and taking the motorcycle when we need to and speed up. But great job by Kevin, and thanks so much everyone for joining. We'll let him get some final thoughts, and then we'll shut it down and see you guys next week.
Yeah, man, this was a lot of fun. Looking forward to it every single week, and it'll look different week to week depending on what's going on with the games. Probably won't need 2 hours to get through everything, but it's certainly a lot of fun. I can't think of anything I'd rather be doing than talking ball and talking about some of these great teams. So this was great, and continue to check out all of our work and check out what Brian's got going, because it's very exciting what he's building for this season, covering the game. So definitely check out everything with All Access.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We'll be same place, same time next week, and we'll continue to add some new exciting ways that we can present basketball to you as the season gets going. We'll have a pretty consistent format. The season preview, we wanted to go a little longer to show everybody love, but again, we want to make sure we're diving into these topics and covering the conferences as best we can, giving some highlights from the week, and we'll have some new effects as we go on and find some ways for you guys to contribute and be able to have a say-so as well within what we're doing. So thanks so much for joining in. We're going to continue to build it, have some fun. Kevin killed it. Have a great week, everybody out there, and stay safe.